Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Decktober Day 28. Today we're looking at the $85 budget Traxos Scourge of Kroog deck tech. Traxos says that it enters the battlefield tapped and doesn't untap on your untap step, and whenever you cast a historic spell, untap Traxos. This deck is all about playing those artifact loving cards, having plenty of dangerous equipment so you can eventually overwhelm the board and swing in with Traxos for the win. Now, let's get straight into the budget deck tech. As always with these budget brews, we're starting off hot with the ramp. First up here we've got Mannequin to add 1 colourless to your mana pool, and Palladium Mirror to tap for 2 colourless. There's Burnish Heart to pay 3, sack it and search your library for 2 basic lands, putting them both onto the field tapped, and Solemn Simulacrum, the ETBs, allowing you to search your library for a basic land, putting it onto the field tapped. Also drawing you a card when that sad rock dies. There's Hedron Crawler to tap for a colourless mana, and Dreamstone Hedron to tap for 3 colourless, also being able to pay, tap and sack and draw 3 cards. We have the similar Hedron Archive to tap for 2, also sacking for 2 tasty cards, and Mana Geo to add 1 mana of any colour, as well as scrying 1 when at ETBs. We have Forsaken Monument to add an additional colourless whenever a permanent is tapped for colourless, also boosting our creatures and gaining us some life. An Unstable Obelisk to add to our mana pool with a big cost additional removal option. There's similar staples Commander Sphere and Mind Stone to be able to tap for mana, but also having that last resort card draw option too. And Thran Dynamo to tap for a massive 3 mana. Finally, we have Sol Ring, because Sol Ring. Before we get into all of those artifact lovers, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. It's completely free to do, and it helps our channel grow and grow as we head towards 2,000 subscribers. So now we're looking over all of those big artifact loving cards. First on up here we've got Chief of the Foundry to give other artifact creatures +1/+1, and Steel Overseer that we can tap to put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature we control. There's Foundry Inspector to make artifact spells cost 1 less to cast, and Joyous Familiar to make historic spells cost 1 less to cast. We've added Shambling Suit that's power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. Spoiler warning, we have no enchantments in this deck, so that word doesn't matter at all. And Darksteel Juggernaut, an indestructible artifact creature whose power and toughness are equal to the number of artifacts you control, also attacking each combat if able. We have key artifact creature Shimmermere to be able to cast artifact spells as if they had flash, and Unwinding Clock to untap all artifacts you control during each other player's untap step. Having all of these pro artifact loving cards is so essential, as this deck, whether it's creatures or otherwise, are all artifacts, and every time we're playing a historic spell we're untapping Traxos to make us even more threatening. We've got huge creature Metalwork Colossus that costs X less to cast, where X is the total mana value cost of non-creature artifacts you control, with the secondary ability to sack artifacts to bring the Colossus right back to your hand. And Mere Battlesphere to ETB and create 4 1/1 artifact creature tokens, with the added option to tap them and boost Mere Battlesphere. Finally, we have All is Dust to make each player sacrifice all coloured permanents they control, perfect for your colourless artifact army. Now we've looked at those artifact lovers, let's look at the attack pieces to help us get the win. First up is Whisper Silk Cloak to make Traxos unblockable and give it Shroud, and Sword of Vengeance to give equipped creature +2/+0, First Strike, Vigilance, Trample and Haste. What a card! There's Brass Squire to have as that option to tap and avoid the pesky equipment attaching cost, and Nettle Cyst, the living weapon that gives equipped creature +1/+1 for each artifact you control. We've added Far Shrieker to give equipped creature double strike, and Loxodon Warhammer to give equipped creature +3/+0, trample and lifelink. The aim here is to really boost up Traxos, make him as the focal point of attack and get that 21 commander damage through, and when he's attacked, cast a sneaky historic spell to untap him and keep him as a threat. We've got Soul of New Phyrexia with that option to pay 5 and make creatures indestructible until end of turn, and Stonecoil Serpent, a potentially huge snake that ETBs with X 1/1 counters on it. It's also got Reach, Trample and Protection from Multicoloured, so very handy in a usually multicoloured game of Commander. For some big board clearing removal we have Meteor Golem, that when ETBs you destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls, and Steel Hellkite, a flying dragon you can pay to beef up or destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Potentially huge. There's Rogue's Gloves that when a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and Infiltration Lens that says when a equipped creature becomes blocked by a player, you draw 2 cards. Again, huge if you have equipped a Traxos, as more likely than not your opponents will be blocking it so they don't take that commander damage. Finally, we have Mask of Memory. This says when an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards and discard a card. As always, before we finish up with those lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget brew. We're going untap crazy with Voltaic Construct to pay to untap target artifact creature and Voltaic Servant to untap target artifact at the beginning of your end step. There's Voltaic Key to pay to untap target artifact or have as yet another way to make Traxos unblockable this turn. And legendary card, Staff of Domination to tap or untap target creature, gain some life or even draw a card. Speaking of card draw, we have Endbringer who we can tap to draw a card, as well as prevent attacking, blocking and even deal some damage to creatures or players, with it untapping every single untap phase. And Filigree Familiar to ETB and gain us 2 life, and when it dies we draw a card. There's Sandstone Oracle that ETBs and you choose a player. If that player has more cards in their hand than you draw cards equal to the difference. And Bottle Cloister to remove your hand at the beginning of each opponent's end step face down, returning those exiled cards to your hand and then drawing a card. We've got Endless Atlas to pay, tap and draw a card if we have 3 lands of the same name, and Mind's Eye, this is whenever an opponent draws a card, you may pay 1 to also draw a card. There's Staff of Nin to draw you a card on your upkeep that you can also tap to deal 1 damage to target creature or player, and Temple Bell to tap and make each player draw a card. Who says you can't be nice in Commander? We've got Tome of Legends that enters with a page counter on it. You can add a page counter whenever your commander ETBs or attacks, with the option to remove those counters to draw a card. And Lodestone Golem to make non-artifact spells cost 1 more to cast. Who says you can't be evil in Commander? Moving on to the recursion, we have Junk Diver that when dies you can return another artifact card from the graveyard to your hand, and Mere Retriever to do yet again exactly the same. We've got Scrap Trawler that says whenever it or another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the field, return to your hand an artifact card from the graveyard with lesser mana value. And Workshop Assistant that again when dies you can return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand. We're now moving on to some iconic protection staples in Lightning Greaves to give equipped creature haste and shroud, and Swiftfoot Boots to give equipped creature hexproof and haste. From Strixhaven we have Wandering Archaic. This is whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy that spell and choose new targets for the copy. And Silent Arbiter, this says no more than 1 creature can attack each combat, and no more than 1 creature can block each combat. Finally, there is Treasure Keeper, that when dies you reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal one with mana value 3 or less. You can cast that card for free, putting all other cards revealed on the bottom of your library. And Mystic Forge to look at the top card of your library anytime, giving you the wonderful ability to cast any non-land card in this deck from the top of your library, thanks to them all being colourless. Now we're rounding up this budget colourless deck with all of those lands. Starting off here, we're looking at 29 wastes, so make sure to dig them out of your collection. Followed by Rogue's Passage for 1 more attempt to make Traxos unblockable, and Darksteel Citadel for a nice indestructible land. There's Buried Ruin for some tasty artifact recursion, and Labyrinth of Scophos to remove target attacking or blocking creature from combat. We've got Radiant Fountain to gain 2 life, and Seagate Wreckage to draw a card. Finally, we've got Crawling Barrens to turn it into an elemental creature that is still a land, and Shrine of the Forsaken Gods to spend more mana on those colourless spells. Traxos is a great colourless commander, and one that if you manage to really get going, can be very, very hard to deal with. Be sure to check out Decktober Day 29 tomorrow, where we'll be looking at a deck that's actually got Prickly Marmoset in the 99. I'm not even joking, I'm so excited, this one is gonna be epic. There we have it, that's the Traxos $85 budget deck tech. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. But for now though, I am all tapped out. So I'll see you in the next video.